Hi, and welcome to the next tour with
Ian?
and Andia. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited. I get the honor to introduce our guest for episode 25, Transition into Higher Education Part 2. And we are joined here by Britt Andrade. So, Britt was active duty in the Army. She spent 7 years as a 42 Alpha, a human resource specialist. She separated in 2019 and has been a professional student since. And that's exactly why we're here to talk to her. She is currently a second-year law student at American University and is looking forward to doing wonderful things. And she comes to us, of course, by way of the Warrior Scholar Project, which, of course, as you know from part one of this episode, we talked with the CEO about the focus specifically on enlisted members and veterans having the opportunity to get into higher education.
So, welcome, Britt.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yay, we're so excited to have you. So, as Ian mentioned, when we chatted with Ryan Pavel, we really got a good understanding of what Warrior Scholar Project is. And we were so happy to get connected with you because we thought, what a great opportunity to do part two and actually talk to a student who's gone through the program and sort of get the inside scoop. So I'd love it if you could really share your journey and about what brought you to Warrior Scholar Project.
Yeah, definitely. It's very funny. I went to college before I joined the military. So I went to college at 18 and I was a terrible student. It was actually kind of tragic how bad I did. I was first generation. I did not know how to ask for help. I took on a 6 class course load, which is absurd. And I wound up dropping out the fall semester of my sophomore year. And so I went back home in disgrace, so to speak, and decided I needed to do something to figure out my life. And I joined the military. And then I spent the next 7 years avoiding higher education completely because I was terrified that I was going to make the same mistakes and that I was going to fail. And my husband, God bless him, got out of the military before me, and he got into Vassar College through the Posse Veterans Program, which is now the Vassar Veterans Initiative, and basically told me that if he could do it, I could do it, and convinced me to give it a shot. And when I did the interview process, I met what would become one of my future classmates who did the Warrior Scholar Project. And they were like, this program changed my life. It helped me learn how to be a better student and how to study and all of these like really great skills that I just didn't have. And so when I got accepted into Vassar, I was like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do and how to be a better student. So I signed up to do Warrior Scholar and actually did it the summer before I started classes.
Wow. Wow, that's so
It
awesome.
really is.
Word of mouth, man. I'm telling you, that's the best endorsement for any organization. That's awesome.
Oh, for sure. And your story really resonates with me because I was that horrible student at first generation college. I was on the dean's other list, I like to say.
Mhm.
And thank goodness I met somebody in my life that helped me actually figure out how to study and ask for
Which
help.
is so funny because I was also a terrible student, but like I guess I don't know, 1 + 1 = 2 somehow here.
Yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
know.
It's great how partners can motivate you to be better versions of yourself because my husband and I did the same thing in undergrad.
Yeah, spot on, spot on.
Awesome.
And it's such an inspiring story. So kind of to pull that thread a little bit, um, having that inspiration, that nudge, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about and how you might recommend somebody reach out to Warrior Scholar Project? What kind of aspects of the program were most valuable to you as you went on this journey and became a successful student and multiple times over, right?
Yeah. So the first thing that I always tell like my fellow student veterans is don't self-select out. We have this really tragic ability to be like, I was a bad student. I don't deserve to be in these spaces. There's someone who needs more help than me. And so we will choose not to be a part of a program because we don't think we deserve to be in the space. I really struggled when I got out of the military with the fact that I was junior enlisted, that I never deployed. And so it took me a little bit to feel comfortable in veterans bases. And part of the thing that made that better for me was actually being in WSP because it's such a diverse community. And there were so many people who had stories similar to mine who made me understand that we all deserve to be educated. We all deserve to have support. And so that was really beneficial. So don't self select out, but also education is scary and that's okay. But what education gives you is worth so much more than that fear. And so it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to take a chance. And if the first time you don't succeed, that's okay. There are enough people who believe in you that you need to believe in them on the days that you can't believe in yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Such a great
Incredibly wise
message.
words. Yeah. I couldn't love that more. I I just have nothing more to say on that because I think
Yeah.
you hit that so on the nose.
It's such a great point. And we do have this, and I've even felt this way before as a military spouse too, right? I've still had those like imposter syndrome. Like, do I really deserve this? Does someone else deserve it more? One of our guests, our previous guests, Hannah Romer, talked about the suffering Olympics. And
Yes.
and I thought that was such a good point. We were talking about mental health, but we were talking about the fact that like you do kind of compare your situation to other people. Like, am I deserving enough? Am I, did I did I really get this? Do I deserve it?
Mhm.
And I think
And you do.
yeah,
We all do.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I also really loved what you said about how, you know, between couples, right? You've got somebody in your corner that's lifting you up when you can, but also like in this education experience, those people that have that trust in you when maybe you're down and you need that support and they're there for that. That's an awesome, I mean,
Sure.
yeah. I d- I mean that's an endorsement again right there for this program. So if you so let's say we go back in time. Um what I guess what would you say or tell yourself about your educational future as you approach your transition? So say you haven't transitioned yet, go back in time. Like what would you tell yourself getting ready for that transition? And what would you do? Top 3, I don't know.
No, it's a good question. So I got out right before the pandemic, and I don't think I ever would have imagined being a student during a pandemic. And I also actually had my son during my freshman year. So he was born in the middle of finals week,
Oh
which was
wow.
a really fun experience for everyone.
Great timing.
It was 3 weeks early, because that's what kids do. They interrupt when you have things going on in your life. But because of those two things, I think I would want to tell myself that it is going to be both harder and easier than you've ever expected. And the things that you aren't going to expect to bother you will be the things that do. And the things that you think are going to bother you because you spent so much time thinking about it isn't actually going to be a big thing. And I say that because I think we spend so much time catastrophizing and trying to plan for every eventuality that sometimes it's better to just do it and experience the thing. Go to school, go live your life, join way too many clubs and take on way too many extracurriculars and just enjoy the time because you're never going to get to experience college like this again.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you know what I really appreciate is the fact that um, had the wherewithal to keep just drive on and, do the hard things. And that's what I really appreciate about what our military does to, our fellow service members, right? We put folks in positions where they have to figure it out. It's figure outable, you know, throw back to one of our previous episodes, right? But things are figure outable. And, that imposter syndrome piece that Andia mentioned, the ability to get into uncomfortable situations and just be comfortable because that's what the military does to us. They break us down and they build us back up and they give us those tool sets to persevere and figure things out, whether it's by asking for help from a supervisor or a mentor, your spouse, friends, or just go into some place, and cold call and say, hey, this is me. I've got questions. Let's do this because that's what we put our folks through. And the fact that, you're on the other side of that as having been a junior enlisted member of our armed forces, it is the backbone of what we do as the American military is testament to how professional we are as a nation in this sphere and how achievable all of this really is. And I really love that you can be that shining star for others and that inspiration to be able to carry that on because I know that is the vast majority of who serves in our country. And I really, really appreciate the fact that you're on here willing to tell your story and really give proof based off of part 1 that, hey, yes, People like this do exist, and I really really appreciate that. I love being a motivator. If I could be a motivational speaker in a next life or whatever, I would love to do that. So, Britt, what I would like to do now is just kind of give you the opportunity to kind of share anything else that you want with the audience, or you know, ask us you know, anything that we didn't ask you yet.
Um, I think one thing that I will say is, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, the military tells us a lot that we just need to push through. And it tells us to be strong and it teaches us to be uncomfortable. And I think there's a fine line between being uncomfortable for growth and being uncomfortable because you're in a position that you don't need to be in.
Mhm.
And so, one thing that I will recommend to my fellow student veterans is know that you are not the model minority in the room. You're not there representing the entire military just because you're a service member. Like, yes, that is a part of your identity and it's an incredibly important part of your
Mhm.
identity, but you're also a person and you're an individual. And this is your opportunity to be an individual. And so, if you're uncomfortable and it's not helping you grow, if you're uncomfortable and it's not feeding a part of your educational journey, then it's okay to step away from that as well. I had some really tough conversations at my undergrad institution about what my service looked like and how that ties into a larger military industrial complex. And I had those conversations because they helped me,
Mm.
because they helped my classmates, because they'd never met a woman who served in the military before that. But if it hadn't served me, I don't think I would have had those conversations because it's not my responsibility to always educate someone else. And so I will say, if it's not helping you and it's hurting you as a person, it is okay to pivot and do something else.
Mhm. Incredibly wise words. Incredibly wise words. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely. I mean, that couldn't be more true. You know, we come from a lot of different perspectives. We're made up of a lot of different things. There's a lot of different ways we identify ourselves, right? And such a great point to remember that everybody is not just one thing, right?
Mhm.
You don't just put that one hat on and you're that forever. And you know, I talk about this a lot in my job that I work in. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, we work with veterans with a program that I run, and they're not necessarily always self-identifying as veterans because some of them don't don't necessarily want to, and that's okay. And
Yeah,
that's such a great point. I love that individualness. Yes.
definitely. Well, Britt, thank you so very much for all of this. Incredibly wise words, very inspirational journey, and still ongoing. I can't wait to, you know, connect folks, you know, to you, to, you know, Warrior Scholar Project, and be able to get that word out, and, you know, continue to grow Americans. And that's what it's about. So,
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
excited to see what you'll do in your post
folks,
lawyer
yeah.
life, or your real lawyer life, whatever it is I'm trying to say here.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
real lawyer life is good.
okay, real lawyer life. Yeah, I'm sure we'll stay connected, which I'd love to. So,
Definitely.
amazing. Well, I mean, we're gonna move now to the really fun parts here. And I'm gonna ask you the first most important question, which is, what's in your rucksack? So, thinking about your military life and your civilian life, your student life now, you know, what is one thing that you would take from your military life and experience and bring to your civilian life? And what's one thing you're really excited to leave behind?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, one thing that I very much brought with me was being on time. And
Yeah.
I don't mean be 15 minutes early because that's not a necessary facet of your life anymore, but like actually being on time. Um because when you show up on time to a meeting or to a class or to any event that you've agreed to go to, people notice because it means you're taking it serious and they feel supported. And so like I think being on time is a really good skill that is important to maintain once you leave service. One thing that I was very happy to leave behind was the constantly having to validate your accomplishments. So I love that now people are just like, oh yeah, they look at your resume and they automatically believe that you've earned those things. They automatically believe that you deserve the positions that you've had. And I really appreciate that because the military for all of its many wonderful facets, does sometimes struggle with believing certain people within its ranks that they've earned their positions. And so not having to justify my existence is a nice thing.
No kidding. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I would say that those are certainly some of the things that I model as well, and feel very similarly about my military experience too. So really appreciate that, Britt. And I get the honor of asking you to play in our game, Two Truths and a Lie military style. So we're going to give you the opportunity to guess the which is the lie. From the three pieces of information we have from our previous guest. So our previous guest, Atia Ingram, episode 24. Here are her three, excuse me, bits of information. You get to guess which one is a lie. So number one, she lived in the United States, Japan, and Germany in her spouse's military time. They've moved 16 times in 27 years. And number three, they met in ROTC as midshipmen in college. So which one is the lie?
I'm going to go with the first one, where they've lived in the United States, Germany, and Japan, mostly because I'm willing to believe Japan, but if they met as midshipmen, they probably weren't in Germany.
Oh,
Yeah, see, that's a
yeah,
good guess. That's a good guess.
you got it
However,
wrong.
you got it wrong because he's a Marine and she never served. So she was never a midshipman cadet.
Nice.
So yeah, excellent. Great guess though. And I really like where your logic is there.
I know.
See, that
It's
tells
that
me you're going to
lawyer
be an
mind.
excellent attorney.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So, Britt, at this point, we're going to give you the opportunity to share your three facts, and we are going to then reveal the answer on our next episode when somebody else has the opportunity to guess which one is your lie. So, Britt, over to you. What are your three pieces of info?
So my first is I was airborne, so I jumped out of planes 32 times during my military career. My second is that I was stationed at Fort Bragg. And my third is that my husband and I met in AIT.
Okay. You know, all of those are incredibly plausible because I know what all of those entail. And okay, but we're not going to reveal this until the next time. And again, Britt, thank you so very much. We really appreciate you walking us through your journey with WSP and the incredible things that you said to help emphasize the point that anybody can do this. You got to put your mind to it. Be honest with your growth and development. Absolutely phenomenal words.
Yeah, it was so great to have you, Britt. And thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule as mom and student and spouse and all of that. So we really enjoyed having you and learning about, how others can connect with Warrior Scholar Project. So for all of our listeners and watchers out there, please check us out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Audible, Apple Podcasts, where you can find us. Everything can be found at our website at thenexttourpodcast.com. And just thanks so much for being here with us. And we'll see you next time on the next tour. The views, opinions, and advice expressed by our guest on the next tour are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast, Andia, or any affiliated organizations. While we strive to provide helpful and accurate information, this podcast is for informational purposes only. We encourage listeners to consult with professionals or conduct their own research before making any significant decisions related to military transition or post-service life. The content is intended as guidance and personal perspective, not as official advice.